Hidden Levels.
Indie games are what got me, for sure.
Austin's a hipster. He's like, he falls for indie stuff like instantly.
Most indie games are simple, very kind of easy to digest in small segments, which is good for the type of playing I do.
Oh yeah, but Austin, you're like, I'd say, man, you're like a hipster. I'm like, yeah, dude, that game Witness, that's gonna be a great indie game. You're like, that's not really an indie game. It's made by what's his name, so it's not really an indie game.
I might have said that, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of this gaming-themed podcast, The Hidden Levels. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and I am joined in the great state of Arizona, Sir
Austin Lucari.
And on the East Coast, sir, introduce yourself.
Tyler Johnson.
All right, and I'm here with Tyler and Austin. We are lifelong gamers sharing about our passionate love affair with gaming and the game industry. We love it, we hate it, and we can't stop talking about it. Yeah, we're here to talk about all the biggest games, but we also want to see, hey, what is going on in that industry? It's been kind of a crazy couple of years in the game industry. We're just very excited to be here and to talk games with the mass of the interwebs. Here on the Hidden Levels, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be picking a hot topic, and this week's topic is going to be the console wars that we're going to be talking about. And so what we're going to look at is we're going to look at where are all three of the major quote-unquote competitors, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony? What do the sales look like? What kind of strategies are they working on right now? What is the state of the console wars? And we've all grown up watching video games and watching these kind of fun back and forths between Sega and Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft.
Our console's better, our console's better, our console's better than yours. We're gonna win it, we're gonna take it, we're gonna settle the score.
We are talking to you from 3 different time zones across the country. But you're probably wondering, who are we? I mean, we're just like 3 dudes sitting around talking about video games on Skype. Really, who are we? Why are we talking about video games? I mean, what makes us credible? What makes us who we are? So to start this off, we're gonna do a little bit of a quick rule interview for you guys. Tyler, if you were stranded on a desert island and you had to pick 3 games, only 3 games, what would you choose and why?
Assuming, of course, that these games are playable with electricity.
Well, you have an infinite generator on the island, of course, right? This is the lost island you're stranded on, so there's power,
Okay.
Of course, yeah.
That can't be a polar bear.
It's a polar bear.
That's a difficult question because I'm not necessarily going to pick my favorite games, but games that I think I could play a long time. So I think I'd go with Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, World of Warcraft, and Pokemon Y.
Ooh. Yeah. Those are time sinks right there.
Long games. Long games. World of Warcraft I haven't played since maybe 2007, but I know if I was stranded on an island, I could play that for hundreds of hours without getting bored. It would last me a long time. And assuming I have internet access, I could just keep downloading more as long as they update it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's World of Warcraft. It's infinite. Like every time you beat it, like the next week, a bunch of missions come out, or an expansion pack comes out. And then, of course, on this island, you'll have drops with, computer hardware that drops so you can update your PC, of course, so you can always stay up to date on your World of Warcraft.
Sure.
Oh, nice. All right, Austin, how about you? 3 games.
Okay, 3 games. First one, only because I've wasted several months playing this right now, is Destiny. Not the greatest game in the world, but I really, really enjoy the mechanics, and I play it pretty much every day and always have something to do in it. Mm-hmm. Second, Warcraft 3, just because I really, really love RTSs, and that was always my favorite one. And finally, the game I probably spent more time on, like just a freaking disgusting amount of time on, is Minecraft. And I can do whatever I want in it, whenever I want. It can be any game I want at any time.
So you could actually build an island to be stranded on in Minecraft.
Mm-hmm. And that's a Strandedception right there.
Strandception. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the key is when you're stranded on an island with time that you need time sinks, right? You need things you can put a lot of time into. Those are all good games. Both what you guys mentioned, huge time sinks. I'm looking at my list here, and I've got 3 games as well. First one is going to be Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. And yeah, that game does end, and actually it's not really that long. But that is probably a game. Oh, and I would get the 3DS version with the Master Quest included in the boss battle mode and all that. Mm-hmm. I have probably completed that game somewhere in the ballpark of 15 times, and that, no exaggeration. I play that game, it seems like once a year. I don't know if it's actually once a year, but it feels like it. That was the game when I was a kid. I would just play it over and over again. Like I took a break. I didn't play it for like a few years, I think, between my Wii and when I got my 3DS. And like I'd been like 3 or 4 years. I picked it up, and I still had the whole game memorized. Like I didn't have like I could literally practically play that game in my sleep. Fallout 3, because talk about time sinks. That's a game I put several hundred hours into when you actually rope in all the DLC and everything. And that's despite the fact that it's a very depressing game, for some reason, like I really just got sucked in and immersed, you know. And then last but not least, you know, Tyler said Smash Brothers, so I'm not going to double up on that answer, although that's a great choice. So I'll go with StarCraft 2 because I need some real time strategy in my life.
You must construct additional pylons.
There's a couple games that we, you know, would enjoy playing if stranded.
Absolutely.
With polar bears and smoke monsters. What consoles do we own? I mean, seriously, again, how are we credible? Do we even own consoles? What current gen consoles do you own, Austin? What do you have for us?
Current gen, I have PS4, Wii U, and PlayStation Vita. And then I play a little bit on Mac, which people will probably get really angry about, but a few games on there I play. So
very cool, very cool. Yeah. All good consoles. I have most of those. Tyler, how about you? What are you playing on?
PS4, PlayStation Vita, Wii U, 3DS, and I have a gaming PC too. Although it's a few years out of date.
Master Race.
Yeah, I play on consoles a lot more than PC, actually.
Yeah. You know, one day I want to build a really awesome gaming PC. I'd really only play like 3 games on there. I'd play everything made by Valve. I would play everything made by Blizzard, and then probably some indie stuff that doesn't make it to consoles. That's probably about it, I'll be honest.
Yeah, my last 2 big experiences on PC were SimCity and Diablo 3, both of which had massive launch issues.
Oh, yeah.
So it made me a little bit less excited about PC gaming after that, unfortunately.
That's a rough experience to get in on PC gaming with, you know, unfortunately. I have currently playing on a PlayStation 4, a Nintendo 3DS, and a Wii U. So, unfortunately...
We are underrepresented in the Xbox.
We are. I was about to say, we lack the X-Bone factor. So, you know, if we have any X-Bone listeners out there, and you just want to call us out sometimes, I promise...
I have for the record, no problem with the Xbox.
Oh, I don't either.
Console.
I mean, I don't own one yet, and it literally comes down to the fact that when I bought my PlayStation 4 on a whim, because I did buy it on a whim, it was $100 cheaper, and it was actually in stock. So, I mean, honestly, I probably would have picked the PS4 anyway. But I mean, listen, guys, I'm a massive Halo fan. Like, I love Halo, but I don't. It's killing me that there's a Master Chief collection out right now that I don't have. So trust it. Me, Austin, Tyler, we like the Xbone. At least enough, I guess. Even if we don't like Microsoft. So this last couple months were actually good months for the Xbox.
Well, did you hear that the price drop is coming back?
Yes.
I did. Effective immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've really been wanting to buy one just to have it, mostly.
Uh-huh.
And it's so tempting. And over Christmas, they were doing a deal where you could trade in at the Microsoft store your old 360, which I happen to have, for $150 towards it. So you could get it really, really cheap.
Here on the Hidden Levels, we're going to talk about what's going on in the industry. We're at a really interesting crossroads in the game industry right now, where it's kind of, the media is really growing up. It's going, as it has been growing up for the last, 10, 15 years, but it's really becoming, we're at this crossroads where gaming is really elevated to the point where it's could be considered art, the eyes of the mainstream, which is really awesome. But between issues of gender, throughout the way the console wars have evolved, these last couple of years have been very interesting growing pains, I think, for the game industry. And those are, here on the Hidden Levels, that's the type of stuff we want to talk about. So when I was thinking about, these introductions, me, Austin, and Tyler, we are really big fans of the game industry, as well as the people who work in them. So guys, before we lead in and get back to kind of what's going to be our more regular show, I wanted to ask you guys, what are one or two of your biggest heroes in the game industry? Now, that could be game developers, that could be games journalists, that could be voice actors. I mean, really, just about anybody who's working in the industry.
I'm going to have to go with Notch, actually. And for the reasons I go with this. One, he created Minecraft, it's a great game, but more importantly, he created a pricing structure for indie developers that allowed indie games to even exist at all. The whole like early access thing and kind of buying into an alpha and beta, while there's been a lot of abuse of that, has allowed these type of games to even exist without having to go through kind of big time publishers and making a lot of compromises to the game and stuff like that. He has legitimately, over the past 5 to 6 years, completely changed the gaming industry.
Yeah, I mean, huge, massive changes. Just and like it's still. I mean, we're feeling that today. Like it's still changing because of that. That's fantastic. You totally stole. Well, I had 2, and he was my second one. So yeah. Ken Levine. God, I'm a huge fan of his. Okay, I'm gonna get all film snobby critic on you real quick. There's this thing called auteur theory, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard of it at all.
You probably wouldn't have heard of it.
Well, I mean,
I haven't.
You haven't? Okay, no, that's cool.
I haven't. Cool. I'm not familiar with it.
And I don't want to ramble on too long, but it's important because what auteur theory is, it's directors, writers, people who are creative, like the creative force behind a production. So that when you watch something or read something, X, fill in the blank, by them, you know what you're like. I'm watching a Chris Nolan movie. I'm watching a Martin Scorsese movie. I'm playing a Tim Schafer game. You can they just have that style, and they have their hands in so many levels of the production that it's yes, the product they're making and the art they're creating is definitely collaborative, but like they're kind of the vision behind it, and they're pushing it forward. Gaming hasn't quite. There have been there are only a handful of game developers out there that I think are really who I would call auteurs. And again, I don't want to get all too snobby on you, but I think it's really cool because Ken Levine, he is, in my mind, he's probably leading the chart. I mean, those BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite are 2 of the most distinct games I have ever played on every level, all the way down to the finest details. And you can tell with BioShock 2 that he didn't make it. Yeah, the world was still great and everything, but it doesn't feel like a Ken Levine game, right? He's trying to bring a level of sophistication and depth and layer 2 storytelling that I think the game industry is really, again, at that crossroads right now. This is perfect timing to get that kind of voice in there. And he is my MVP for game development, and I'm interested to see what he's going to do in the future now that he's kind of downside. I mean, pretty much practically started a new studio under Irrational, As you can tell, I critic a little bit here. Actually, is Adam Sessler, the formerly of G4 and Rev3 Games, who I guess is technically not in the game industry right now. He freelances. He's going to be at PAX South this weekend, so he's still doing stuff in the game industry, but he's not, producing videos and writing like he used to. Big fan of his. Grew up watching him on G4, and of course he was an entertainer. He was always really funny. But when he came back, and after he kind of went away for a while, I went to college and got a liberal arts degree in English, right? And then he comes back with Rev 3 after I've graduated college, and so he had a lot more freedom, and he was applying a type of criticism and intelligence to his writing that I hadn't seen from him before, and I don't feel like I've seen so much in the game industry, a whole lot among games journalists. Very inspiring to show that, hey, games are worth giving this level of thought to. There's a lot worth reading into. This is a media that, again, has grown up and evolved, and with Adam Sessler, I really felt like he was trying to give credit to 2 things. He was trying to give credit to the games, saying, hey, these are art, they're worth criticizing, looking to, like we would read a piece of a book or a piece of literature or a movie. And 2, I think he trusted his audience a lot, which is unfortunate because I feel like his audience, a lot of times maybe his audience didn't quite appreciate what he was trying to do. But I think he trusted his audience to be very intelligent and very savvy, which is something, again, in a lot of these gaming outlets for writing, you don't really get this. I mean, it feels almost kind of hand-holding a little bit a lot of times. Before we get to our topic of the week, we're going to talk about some news. every episode, we're all going to bring some sort of news item to the table to see what's kind of going on. Austin, I want to start with you. What's going on in the news? What's going on out there in the worlds of the internet and gaming?
Well, on Friday, according to the BBC, one of the members of the hacking group that took down the Xbox Live and PlayStation Network,
bastards,
many other things over the past couple of years, was arrested in the UK. This would be the third arrest they've made in connection to that attack. The UK police, in collaboration with the FBI, kind of found this guy. Ended up being just kind of a kid. He's a minor, so they don't disclose the name or anything like that. But what is, I think, more interesting in what's coming to light about all of this is they built an infrastructure, a botnet system that they could then use to attack whatever they wanted, websites, PSN, pretty much anything. That botnet system, they used against PSN and Xbox Live as an advertisement, essentially, to basically say, hey, look what this thing can do. And then they started taking subscriptions. So anybody could go on their website, pay them money, and use it to attack whoever they felt like they wanted to attack. That system got compromised by the FBI. But not only that, they encrypted nobody's information within their own website. So everybody's credit card numbers, everything is all there. So they've got links to pretty much anyone who tried to use it. I have a feeling this whole thing's going to come tumbling down very, very, very quickly. I guess they've been sending bomb threats still. They've been swatting people and all these dumb things. So their stance has always been, we just DDoSed this system. There's no way we can get in trouble for that much. But it's all the extraneous stuff they've been doing. They're going to go to jail for a long time.
Oh, hey, that's good news for us in gaming. PSN and Microsoft went down, and that's that was frustrating on Christmas Day. I mean, no joke. Like, I was trying to play. I mean, we all get games for Christmas. You're trying to play online, and wait, you can't because PSN's down or Xbox Live's down. And that, that's interesting though. I didn't realize that the person they had arrested was a minor.
Yeah, they've arrested a 22-year-old. This one says an 18-year-old, but I think in the UK they can't disclose his name, which is fine. And then there's a third one, but I don't know how old he was.
I mean, hacking is an interesting issue kind of going on at the, I guess online, not even just exclusive to the game industry, but just kind of in general, although people who game, like hack, tend to game. So, I mean, I learned that from Live Free or Die Hard, so what do I know? So, yeah, that's interesting, Austin. Well, hopefully it's kind of like a house of cards. They get their first people, and then it's only a matter of time before they can kind of shut down the organization.
This guy's just going to, what someone said, fold like origami. Just turn everyone else in, so.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Well, yeah. That's going to be an interesting story to see develop here in the next couple weeks, couple months. That's exciting. Taking down hackers. Okay. And before we
look at them too,
throw a book at them. And the next thing you know, all of our information has been disclosed online. So because I'm sure the lizards are listening to us right now.
I'm sure. From a lot of what I hear, they don't seem to be up to par with some of the more experienced hackers.
Right.
So I'm less concerned about Lizard Squad.
Yeah. What they've been doing is massive in scope, but not big in complexity.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Which is easy which makes sense. That's kind of like that makes in the internet age that makes sense. It's not terribly hard to do, but you've got the whole world at your fingertips, right? It didn't get hacked.
Oh my God!
Nintendo, Wii U. I was playing Smash Bros. Online just fine, guys. I don't know what your problem all was.
That's like the Macs don't get viruses argument.
Austin, my Mac is superior because it doesn't get viruses. What are you talking about? My Mac can't get. It is physically impossible for my Mac to get viruses. Austin, I know what you're talking about. It can't happen. All right, well, that's a great little segue, though, because I think the other two items we have this week are probably going to be Nintendo-related. So, Tyler, you want to go ahead and share what you brought for us today?
Sure. Well, Nintendo, earlier this week in their Nintendo Direct, announced a Majora's Mask limited edition new 3DS XL. And it went online shortly after the Nintendo Direct and became available for pre-order and sold out almost instantly.
Yep.
I mean, within hours, it was sold out both online and at brick and mortar retailers that ran out of pre-order supply. And now, throughout this week, they have been going all over eBay. I just checked last night. There were over 500 individual listings for the Majora's Mask 3DS XL online. Over 500. And some of these listings include multiple consoles. So this isn't over 500 3DS XLs. This is over 500 separate listings, some of which have several, 5, even 10 separate 3DSs that are being sold upwards $300, $400, and even more dollars. And this console isn't even released yet. And so this is becoming an increasing problem for Nintendo because starting particularly with the Amiibo and the GameCube adapter, they horribly undersupplied retailers with these with the figures, with certain figures and the GameCube adapter. Whether it was an issue of just poor foresight or unexpected demand or what the problem was, Nintendo really did not supply enough. And so now scalpers, resellers, are realizing that they can make a hefty profit from Nintendo fans by going in and purchasing as many of these as they can and reselling them on eBay at horribly increased prices. And some of them are even flaunting it online. One guy I read about was talking about how he had the Rosalina figure, which is exclusive to Target, that comes out soon, sold out, again, just like the Majora's Mask 3DS, online very quickly. And so he has over 100 of them pre-ordered.
Oh my gosh.
Through friends, through family, through different places. And so this is just a huge concern, particularly because Nintendo doesn't seem interested in addressing it or dealing with the problem. And in the case of the new 3DS XL, it's even worse than it's been with the Amiibo, because half the people that want to get that console it's not even going to be nearly accessible. If somebody was at work during the Nintendo Direct and if they came home and saw that it was announced, there's no way they could have gotten it.
Okay, so for instance, I watched that Direct when it's live. I'm like, oh, that looks sexy. I'm awesome. I need a new 3DS anyway, right? And I don't know. I think the design looks great. But I'm not I mean, by nature, and maybe this is my problem, I'm not an impulse buyer, right? So I go to work and I'm chewing on it for 8 hours while I work or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I think I might go for that. Get home, and I run into that problem you're talking about. Everywhere sold out. I call 3 stores, 3 different GameStops, and like, yeah, we sold out within 15 minutes. And then, of course, like you said, you see people online who are just scalping the heck out of this thing. It's absolutely nuts. And like you said, it's a problem with the Amiibos as well. Like, we're living in an age, and I was being pretty tough on Nintendo with this at first, but honestly, between those 3 things that we just listed off, between the Amiibos, the GameCube adapter, and the 3DS, like, they only have so much manpower to produce these things. I mean, and like, so these scalpers are totally taking advantage of this. The fact that we are 2 months after the Smash Brothers release and you still can't find a GameCube adapter, I mean, what the heck, man?
Yeah. Well, I try not to fault Nintendo too much, because there are manufacturing limits, but part of the problem is the Nintendo has fed the resellers by keeping silent about all of this. So for the Majora's Mask, for example, all Nintendo has to do to kill, because these are actually selling. It's not just that these are going on eBay as pre-orders for a console that hasn't come out, that sold out immediately. Not only are they on there, but they're actually selling in very large amounts for prices hundreds of dollars over the price of this item that when it releases. Mm-hmm. All Nintendo has to do to kill this is make a formal announcement saying we are aware of the supply issue, we are going to keep producing more, so don't go online and purchase them from these overpriced sellers. We are making more. You're going to be able to get it if you want to get this console, and that is, if they announce that is our goal, is to make sure that everyone that wants it is able to get it. If they did that, it would kill all of it.
Right.
It would completely devalue this enormous stockpile that these resellers have accumulated. But Nintendo won't do that because for some reason Nintendo doesn't do that. And that's what's feeding these resellers, because of the uncertainty of whether there are actually going to be more of them or not.
Right, and here's the thing, and what I thought was funny, I mean, the Majora's Mask 3DS was announced during that Direct, so honestly, there's not been a lot of time in between. I mean, yeah, they should have made an announcement by now. But, like, for instance, I fully expected them to at least address the issue, hey, there's a shortage of amiibos. We promise we're gonna bring you. I mean, we're gonna bring back some of your favorites, right? Like at least just all it takes is Reggie or Iwata or someone saying we are aware of the issue, and all we need to do is we're long term. We're going to produce more of those. Or heck, even say we're going to produce different versions of the same amiibo. Anything like that just would help out. But they just totally ignored the entire... Like, they sidestepped it totally. And that's...
Yeah.
And I'm with you on that. That is incredibly frustrating, especially as consumers who actually want to invest in this.
Bottom line, what feeds this? I mean, we can blame the people buying, like the people like snagging up all of them. We can blame Nintendo all we want. But what ends up feeding this is the people willing to pay ridiculous prices for these things.
Yeah,
right.
That's sure. If there was no market there, if people weren't willing to do that, this would never be an issue. Mm-hmm. So we are the real enemies here, you and I.
Tyler mentioned the Nintendo. We've talked a little about the Nintendo Direct, and I am going to hit on a couple of key points here. Positives from the Nintendo Direct I was pretty happy about. We got to see more Majora's Mask, which I am stoked about. That is a super underrated game. I'm actually currently working on a way to do a video essay for that game when it's after it's out and I've played it again. Wow, that game has a level of maturity and depth and sophistication like you just would never expect. We rarely ever see from Nintendo. Like honestly, I can't believe they made that game in retrospect. So I'm super excited to play that again with the enhanced graphics. And the touch controls and everything. That's exciting. We got to see some new IPs from Nintendo with the Project Steam, right? That's something that I think with the Wii era, there was a lot of criticism leveled toward Nintendo for not developing new IPs because they were so focused on their casual, Wii play and all that. They're putting all their investments in that, so not a lot of new IPs. So that's exciting to see them actually do some investments. What else did they do that was pretty impressive? They had I just thought it was a decent little direct. They've been pretty much doing these things once a month or once a quarter at least anymore. So I wasn't too upset when we didn't get like any Star Fox or Zelda or anything like that. But the big disappointment and the hot button controversy kind of coming out of this whole thing was the announcement about the new 3DS. First off, there's a lot of problems with this new 3DS. I'm going to buy one and I'm stoked for it, but there's a lot of problems with this thing. The least of which is, before we even get to the power cable issue, the branding. I mean, what the heck, dude? If I was a soccer mom walking into a store and my son said, I want a new 3DS, you go in, I mean, there's what 4 different versions of the 3DS now? I mean,
yeah.
I'm having a hard time. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a brand. It's kind of like the Wii with the Wii U, the 3DS, and it doesn't work, guys. It doesn't.
Their brand was Game Boy, and it was fine. I don't know why they had to screw it up.
Well, but even with the Game Boy and the DS, like they had the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Advance SP, the Game Boy Advance Micro, or you had the DS, the DSi. I mean, and then
they've dropped Game Boy entirely. Like it doesn't say anything on it at all.
No, there's no more Game Boy. And now with the DS and the 3DS, like I get what they're trying to do there. Especially the time they launched that, 3D was kind of the buzzword, right? But like that's confusing to consumers, right? It works for PlayStation because it's very clear. You have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. It works. Xbox has managed to be different enough with the way they've branded each of their consoles that it's worked.
It's worked, but Xbox One was probably like a really bizarre name.
That was a very bizarre name.
Now, if I say Xbox One, I have no idea which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You mean the first Xbox or Xbox One?
Yeah.
Which actually, that conversation has happened a few times. So, what did you guys think about the name? I mean, kind of what are you guys thinking about this whole branding issue?
I think it was better than. I think this was better than when they launched the 2DS because that was horribly confusing to me.
Yeah.
Myself, I follow games very, very closely, and I had no idea what was going on with that. This one, I fear that it's going to have similar issues. The bigger problem for me surrounding it is if I go buy a new 3DS, there are going to be games that I can play that I can't play on my old version. And I don't know that that has been clearly communicated to people who still own the old versions, that there will be games for your 3DS that are 3DS games that you will not be able to play. And I understand why they're doing that, but I don't think they're communicating that very well. I don't know.
I think the communication issue has really been a lot of people think that all of the new games now releasing are not going to work on the old 3DS. So I've seen a lot of comments online from people who are saying, oh no, is Majora's Mask, is that going to play on my regular 3DS? So I don't think it's, at least at this point, because they don't have any new 3DS exclusive games, the confusion has really been a lot of people thinking that they can't play any new release 3DS games anymore because of the new 3DS. And that's, again, I think really linked in a lot of ways to the name that they chose. And even trying...
But even the overall strategy is just like...
Yeah.
It's just poor. It's a poor decisions. And I get it. I understand their reasoning. But from a business perspective, I don't think it's a good idea.
I'm interested to see. Here's what I'm really hoping. I mean, it's Nintendo. God bless them. I mean, I love the heck out of those guys. They make some of the best games ever. And sometimes they do things that are incredibly smart. But the problem I think I'm running into with them right now is, and I hope to see with the net. I think this gen we're in too late with this whole 3DS, Wii U. Like, there's not a lot we can do. But I have this hope that whenever the next gen is for them, whenever that is, whether it be 2, 3, 5 years, whatever. I mean, between being able to play your games across multiple consoles that you've already paid for, and their online infrastructure, and hopefully their branding issue, because they're trying to build a brand, and I get it, but like they don't know how to make it clear what does what. So I hope with this next, they're learning lessons. I really do hope that moving forward we can see them kind of also kind of grow up a little bit and kind of be a little more communicate a little more clearly with consumers. So,
and I think in some ways the new 3DS is their attempt at that. So, in a lot of ways, it's kind of bizarre that they're doing this sort of middle console in between generations. But really, I think the new 3DS is Nintendo's way. They intend to be the response to all of the concerns about the 3DS. I think it's their console where they're saying, oh, well, people have been asking for another analog stick on the right side. Okay, well, here you go. Oh, people have been asking for new bumper buttons. People have been asking for a faster 3DS. So I think in Nintendo's mind, they're saying, we're doing this, we're listening, and this is our response. So I think they're trying, but they're kind of tripping over themselves in the process. But at least it shows an effort to improve.
Some of those improvements you probably should hold off for the next actual console launch.
For sure.
And then some things, like other companies release like slim versions and different things, or I upgrade the hard drive set, like small enhancements that people will go buy because they want the newest thing, but it doesn't exclude other people from certain things.
Yeah, and I will say too, I mean, they're getting a lot of slack for this, but this isn't the first time Nintendo's done something like this, to be honest. I mean, a couple of different examples. They had the expansion pack on the N64, of course, which you could only get by buying a certain game, and then you couldn't play certain games without it, right? Was Donkey Kong 64 you had to buy to get that thing? I think.
I think so.
I think it was Donkey Kong 64, and there was only a small handful. There weren't a lot of games, but there were like Majora's Mask, for example, Banjo-Tooie, a handful of games that you had to have that expansion pack to play, and most of them were at the very end of the console life cycle. And then the other example I can think of is the DSi. I mean, again, the DSi though didn't exclude you from playing old games though. So, but that's another example of them like just throwing random extra crap in to try to improve. Yeah, and you can see that how the influence of the DSi impacted the 3DS big time. But like, it's like, really, do we need that extra handheld kind of in between generations? I don't know.
And to Tyler's point, because we had discussed this before, there so far is only one game that the old 3DS will not be able to play. There might be more in the future, but I imagine most devs will not want to do that because they're going to, limit their audience quite a bit. So it's not a huge impact, but the game that you can't play on the old 3DS is Xenoblade, and that is a huge following. A lot of people are going to upgrade just for that.
That's
game.
why I'm upgrading, because I didn't play it on the Wii, and I can't find the game anymore. And plus, honestly, the graphics are going to be better on the 3DS too. With the RPG, I think it's going to work better with two screens. That's a franchise I can't wait to dip my toes into. But like you said, I mean, I can't play with what I've got now. I have to upgrade, and it is kind of unfortunate, because that means there's a lot of people who might accidentally pick that game up or hear about buzz, and now you're like, oh, you check out the Xenoblade Chronicles, and they're like, oh yeah.
How are they going to do that? If I go to a store and buy that game because it says 3DS on it, they have to like put some huge disclaimers on it.
It'll have a big box that says new 3DS on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Put a big sticker on the package that says "Will not play on the original 3DS."
Yeah, seriously, because they're going to get a whole heaping lot of slack for that. I guarantee it.
Well,
Game Boys, like 3DSs, aren't targeted at you and I. They're targeted at a younger audience. And the people who make the buying decisions for that younger audience are going to be totally confused.
Yes, yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and this is something interesting. I've been kind of following up on a number of reading about the means of the internet between GameSpot and IGN and websites like that. And they bring up a fair point, which is there's a reason because this thing has been out in Japan since like September, October, I think, and it's been out in Europe for a while. There's a reason they waited until February to launch this thing, because they're not counting on soccer mom to go and have to find out and buy it for Johnny down the street. Like they're counting on
probably a production issue more than anything.
Well, that's probably it too. I think there's a lot of reasons, but I mean, what I'm saying from a marketing standpoint, like this is something that makes sense to have a soft launch in February, because here's the thing: the people they're targeting are us three, people who are going to know.
Yeah,
that's who they're targeting. At least up front, this is who they're targeting with this thing. I mean, you can see that with the lack of the power cable, which is a whole other conversation. Like they want us to look at this as an upgrade. We're going from the iPhone 5 to the 6 Plus or whatever. Like you get a 3DS, well, you're going to go to the new 3DS. Like that's totally who they're targeting with this. And I mean, I don't necessarily agree. I don't agree with a lot of the decisions they made on it, but I totally see where they're coming from, saying, hey, well, we don't really need to worry about these people. Christmas is a long time away. We don't have to worry about marketing to kids who want the new thing. They just got through Christmas. But who's going to buy this stuff in February and March? We are. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about what we've been playing, because as much as we love talking about games, we actually like to play them too. Go figure. We're starting off the new year. Been playing through the holidays, and I got a Wii U early December. I got a really good sale. I got the bundle. Target had a sale, $250 for a 32 gig hard drive with the Super Mario 3D World pre-installed, Nintendo 3D Land pre-installed, and of course had to have Smash Brothers too. I could no longer bear not having Smash Brothers. So I picked those up, and the last month and a half or so, I guess about a month actually, has been me playing Super Smash Brothers, Super Mario 3D Land, and last week I picked up Bayonetta 2, which also includes original Bayonetta. And guys, I am a Nintendo fanboy at heart. I'm not going to deny it. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with them, but man, it's been a while since I've felt this Nintendo magic, like legitimately. I am playing Super Mario 3D Land, which has no 3D World, which has no story, but it's just like so much fun. And I'm like, this is why I love video games. You know, you're just playing it, you get that smile and your grin on your face, and like I'm like, this is why I play video games. Like
Super Mario 3D World legitimately is probably my favorite Mario since Super Mario World.
Oh wow.
The original.
Wow.
It's freaking phenomenal.
It's pretty great.
I love that game.
I don't know if I like it quite as much as I like the Galaxy franchise, but that doesn't mean it's not awesome. Like I mean, God, I love the heck out of it. I put hours, and I do love it. So, I mean, and little stupid stuff, that dumb cat suit that I thought was the dumbest thing ever when I saw videos for, like stuff that when I saw original, like when the videos came out at E3 a couple years ago, I was like, what? This looks like a cash. I mean, it looks like they're just making a 3DS version of Super Mario 3D Land with cat suits, which is exactly what they did, and guess what? It's still freaking awesome. And then, of course, Smash Brothers has been a lot of fun. I mean, is it technically like one of those Game of the Year type of games? Probably not, but it's my Game of the Year because just the the amount of content there and the characters and the Nintendo history there, big sucker for it. And Bayonetta, guys, if you have a Wii U, if you're listening and you have a Wii U, buy this game. I mean, seriously, it's a very strange game. It's very kind of like otaku anime.
Gratuitous?
Oh, definitely gratuitous. Yeah. That's a great word. It's anime style otaku, which otaku is like sexualized violence, all that stuff. It's weird, but man, it's a lot of fun. It controls really well. I just finished the first game and started the second one because you get the first game for free. And wow, man, the controls are tight. Once you get over the initial hump of not knowing what the heck you're doing because there's so much going on and you're just button mashing to survive, once you actually get the hang of like what does what and everything, it's actually a lot of fun. And the boss fights are just big, massive, stupid big, and it's over the top. So like the first level of Bayonetta 2, you're jumping around all these buildings. You fight a mini boss while you're riding on the subway train. It's driving across a bridge and you fight this big mini boss. You're thinking that's the boss. Well, as soon as you do that, then you fight the actual boss, which is a giant dinosaur dragon thing that shoves its head through the building, and you're like flying around, and oh my gosh, it's a lot of fun. And to kind of quote me what me and Tyler talked about earlier, it is Nintendo doing third parties right, taking an existing IP that was very underrated, supporting it and making it a lot better. Because Bayonetta 2, even though I haven't put as much time into it, I can already tell you it's a step above Bayonetta 1. That's what I've been playing. Lots of good stuff out there this year, though. We're in a good time for gaming.
Well, I have a stack of games from that released in the fall that I've been intending to play. So I've been doing one at a time to try and avoid starting 10 games at once. But I just finished Dragon Age Inquisition this week, which was an absolutely phenomenal game. I was less excited for it after Dragon Age 2 because that was a little bit disappointing, even though I think people are a little bit too critical of it. But it surpassed my expectations, and I played it so much I got the Platinum Trophy and all of that.
Wow.
So
nice.
That's
a real accomplishment in Dragon Age, because I heard that game's like 90 hours to finish the game or something like that.
Huge. It's huge. Well, I Platinum Dragon Age Origins as well, because I love that game. Dragon Age 2, I would have the Platinum, but one of the trophies was glitched, and so I didn't end up getting it. I was pretty mad. So yeah, I finished Dragon Age Inquisition, and then I started Far Cry 4 this week. It's not quite as inspired as Far Cry 3. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to play either.
I did 3, yeah.
Far Cry 3, yeah.
Did you play? Yeah. It's a great game. I enjoyed Far Cry 3. So Far Cry 4 is a great game. It just feels a little bit less inspired than the third. Kind of like they just took the third and just did a new kind of story and
setting.
And a new setting.
Fun mechanically, and as far as the environment goes.
It's in a lot of ways it feels kind of like Far Cry 3 on a next gen console. The graphics look a little bit nicer.
Fact that you can
animations
fly a helicopter and ride an elephant.
Yes, both of those are pretty awesome.
And here's what I've been told. I haven't had a chance to play Far Cry 4 yet, but based on what I've read and heard like kind of buzz about online, is one of the big highlights, which maybe we should all try out sometime, is the co-op. You can play, which, I mean, it doesn't sound like you've tried yet. I've heard that's a big appeal over the third game, being able to actually do all this crazy stuff with your friends.
And they actually gave, with the PS4 version, I think 10 codes or something like that to share co-op. So maybe we could make that happen.
So what I'm hearing is when we do our first stream, it's going to be a Far Cry 4. And we're going to be playing riding elephants together. That sounds like a blast. I love that. Yeah, very cool. All right. Anything else? Did you play anything else?
Well, I started Danganronpa 2 on the Vita, which is a really great game, but I've been distracted by Dragon Age. It kind of took everything over, so I'm going to go back to Danganronpa here soon.
As we kind of hinted at earlier, I recently bought a Vita right before Christmas, and I got a couple games for it. I beat Tearaway, which was amazing. Such a good game. Highly recommend it. I think I'm nearing the end of Persona 4. At least the last third of the game. I feel like it's starting to wrap up here a little bit, and that's been pretty good. A little bit different than what I usually like. I kind of like the more traditional medieval-ish RPGs, but this has been pretty good. Been playing some Dragon Age. I'm not very far in, like 15 hours or so. I tried to kill my first dragon, and he completely wrecked me.
There be dragons.
Made me really sad.
Yeah.
But what I spend most of my time playing with these days is Destiny. I've been trying to get up to level 32, which I did the other day, so that I can do
congrats,
the hard mode raid that is being released on Wednesday. So that's what I've been doing. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's a really like super grindy game, but it, as I kind of referenced before, it's doable in like bite-sized portions, which is why I like it. I can play it for an hour, 20 minutes even, and get off and have made progress and not be totally lost as to where I'm at.
Yeah, that's a big benefit. And I don't like Destiny as much as you or a lot of people, but I'll tell you what, man. That right now, that is the biggest, as far as social gaming goes, that's the biggest experience I've got going on. I swear everybody I know is playing Destiny. Even people I never in a million years would have pegged to play Destiny are playing Destiny right now. So the real appeal for me, I mean, I hopped on the other night. I'm going to try to be on a little more often on the Destiny train. But that's good. It's kind of nice to have that game that all your friends are playing, right?
It's frankly, the story's terrible. It's truly awful.
There was a story? I just know that the guy told me that at the beginning of the game, the guy just told me he's going to give me. He could tell me all the answers to the universe, but he won't.
What happened to it?
I could tell you of the great battle centuries ago. How the traveler was crippled. I could tell you of the power of the darkness, its ancient enemy. There are many tales told throughout the city to frighten children.
And then at the end of the game, the same guy gave me a gun, and I was like, I don't know what I did to get this gun, but I got a cool new gun that was literally useless after I hit the next level.
It's true. That's the nature of kind of the looting games, but to me, what makes it fun is the gunplay. Like, it's like true Bungie fashion. Everything just feels really nice and tight.
All right, guys. So hopefully, as we continue doing future episodes of the Hidden Levels, you can kind of learn a little more about each one of us based on what we play. And hopefully each time we're going to have something new to bring to the table with what we've been playing. We're going to go ahead and move into what we really came to talk about today. Sometimes our topic conversation is going to be a game review. Sometimes it's going to be hot button controversies. But right now, we're going to talk about the console wars.
Genesis does
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Collins free.
Genesis does.
What Nintendo don't. War never changes.
My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names. And we're about making games.
No question about it. I think the next generation begins when we say it does.
Who are you to deny greatness? If you would deny to yourself, you deny to the entire world.
If it was any more real, it would be real.
Yes! Oh my God!
The Ultimate Destiny experience is only on PlayStation.
One fan said it best. The Xbox One is the greatest thing that's ever happened to mankind.
Super Smash Brothers for Wii U is here!
Only on Wii U.
Finishing this fight.
PlayStation.
Console Wars, term that's been coined since the beginning of gaming time, I guess. Kind of the classic idea of the console war was the Nintendo-Sega rivalry back in the 90s with the Nintendo and Sonic the Hedgehog. And more recently, we've seen Sony and Microsoft be like, that's the big struggle console-wise in the console wars. It's been honestly, I feel like there's been a lot of blood in this last. I mean, they've always been competitors and they've always kind of had that competitive relationship. But this console cycle after E3 2013 really showed we're in for the blood money, guys. I mean, this is going to be a real drama. I mean, you can make a movie out of this stuff.
Jack Tretton was hilarious.
Jack Tretton at E3 2013.
PlayStation 4 disc-based games don't need to be connected online to play. Guess that's a good thing.
Oh my gosh. Or the video that launched during their press conference that said how to play a game on the how to share a game on the PS4. It was the dude just handing a game to the other guy. I mean, holy crap. I mean, that was Microsoft seemed to have gotten a little cocky, and Sony totally took advantage of it, and that is why they're the leader right now. Let's be honest here. I mean, I know it isn't, you wouldn't think like that type of the press conference would really make that big a difference to the average consumer, but it really did, because it won over the hardcore audience. It won over the people who are the early adopters, saying, "Man, Sony's a company that cares about me and my gaming."
Sony learned a lot from the PS3.
They did.
They really fumbled it with the PS3, and they learned a lot. And that's all I ever want from a company is learn from your mistakes and move on and do better next time. And to Microsoft's credit, after all that happened, they totally fixed almost every single problem I had with the console. And now it's cheaper than a PS4. So they're going to catch up fast.
They are.
Very, very fast.
Yeah. And they're communicating with gamers, you know. They got, what was his name? Don Matrix? What was that his name?
Yeah, Don Matrix.
Don Matrix, oh gosh, okay.
The human Muppet.
It's going to sound horrible, but I was like, every time I looked at him, I don't like to judge people this way, but I was looking at him like, this guy is a tool. Like, every time like he was talking in the interviews, I was like trying to sell us on the worst ideas ever, and I was like, well, I don't get it. It was kind of comedic at points, actually.
They're going to understand what we're trying to create and how it links games and entertainment, the functionality of the box, some of the advantages that you get of having a box that is designed to use an online state. Fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360. I mean, seriously, when I read the blogs and thought about who's really the most impacted, there was a person who said, "Hey, I'm on a nuclear sub, and I don't even know what it means to be on a nuclear sub, but I've got to imagine that it's not easy to get an internet connection."
So they had to do some leadership change there, but yeah, Microsoft is really making a comeback. In November and December, after Microsoft made that price cut, they made a price cut to their console, and they also, as Austin mentioned earlier, you could trade in your Xbox 360 for, was it $100 off?
$150 at the Microsoft store. Your
Xbox 360s aren't worth $150, guys, and Microsoft was giving you that in credit. That's incredible. That's a bold move. In my opinion, that's a huge, bold customer satisfaction.
For the record, you could also trade in your PS3 for the same price.
Oh, okay. Well, your PS3 is not, honestly, just really not worth that much either.
Either way, they wanted you to have an Xbox One no matter what.
Right. And they've gone out of their way to show that they mean business, and they're not just going to lay down and let Sony kind of stomp all over them. Nintendo, who is just kind of existing in their own little realm, doing what they do. Do they care that they're getting do you care that they're getting stomped?
They've accepted their role as a supplementary console.
I think so too.
It suits them.
I think so too, and you know, that was really hard for me to swallow for a while because I wanted my Nintendo console to be like the console. But honestly, once you kind of come to terms with the fact that your Nintendo console is a Nintendo playing machine, and all your other gaming experiences will be on another console, it makes it a lot more easy to enjoy. I have to admit.
For the record, they're the only ones with a proper browser. The only one.
Yeah,
the only one I can play like my Plex videos through and different things. I use it as my media center for the most part.
It's really weird. You wouldn't expect that from Nintendo, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too because Sony and Microsoft have both kind of failed to make games. Nobody makes games like Nintendo makes games as far as their genres. Who's making platformers anymore other than Nintendo?
Nobody.
So I think Nintendo has sort of created their own little genre even that's only available on Nintendo consoles because we don't have these other mascot-like cartoony characters platforming on the Xbox or the PlayStation hardly at all anymore.
Closest thing is like Sackboy.
Yeah, Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet. Mon Nation Racers tried to pick up on Mario Kart, and it was a great game. And honestly, in a lot of ways, it's probably better than Mario Kart, but it wasn't Mario Kart.
Maybe the Fable franchise on Xbox, but that's not really the same thing.
No, it doesn't have like it is its own game, but it doesn't have like that same. It doesn't feel like a Zelda. Like it almost feels a little more generic.
You don't have a central character to kind of rally around.
Right.
Yeah, I think they killed the Fable franchise pretty much anyway over the years.
Oh man,
I'm a little sad.
That's sad because I like those games a lot.
I like the first one a lot. Yeah.
where do the three competitors fall in this epic battle of Mario versus Sonic versus Master Chief versus Kratos? And no, Sonic's not really there anymore, but we just got to throw him in there for the sake of Sonic. Based off of a website called the VG Charts, you can look up online, and also from the NPD, which is like a financial organization that tracks video game sales with games and consoles and things like that. Looking here as of, I want to say November 2014, November 2014, the PS4 is 8.5 million. The Xbox One at 11 million, and the Wii U at 8.9 million. Sony, obviously, really dominating things. Are you guys surprised by these numbers at all?
No. And Sony launched globally really, really quickly. I think Xbox, they've been rolling it out real slow. Mm-hmm. So they're going to catch up, especially with the price drop. I am actually surprised that the Wii U is as close to the Xbox One as it is.
You know, there were a few months earlier this year, several months actually, where the Wii U was outselling the Xbox One, which was shocking. I mean, I made me happy because it makes me feel like they've actually got a shot at, achieving more success than I thought it was giving them credit for.
I mean, they're behind the Vita still, too, which is
That's pretty sad.
Great.
Yeah, right.
Japanese sales are help keeping the Vita up there.
Yeah, but I would think Japanese sales would help with the Wii U too, but maybe not.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, Nintendo did have a really strong year. I mean, I'll be honest. The real winner, honestly, without getting too specific, I impulsively bought a PS4 in 2013. I could have impulsively bought a Wii U, and I'm a big Nintendo fan, and I didn't. And I'll be totally honest with you guys, and I'm glad I have my PS4, and now I have a Wii U, so we're all good. But if I could do it over again, I would have bought the Wii U first, because they had a lot more games roll out this year. When no one else was rolling out games. It was the PS4. There were months I used my PS4 to watch Netflix and stuff. There were a couple, probably 2 or 3 months in there I didn't play the thing at all and then Destiny hit, which finally, dusted off the console, so to speak.
If I remember correctly, I advised you to buy a Wii U over a PS4 at the time.
Austin, I bought this. This is like a decision I made within 30 minutes of my life, okay? I walked into a Best Buy. I walked into Best Buy to buy someone a Christmas gift, 2013. And they had them in stock, and I was like, I just got a really nice pay. I had a holiday bonus that had just come through, and I was like, well, I don't really need to buy this console, but they have it, and it's hard to find. So, hey, there's that Zelda Collector's Edition Wii U with the Wind Waker bundled in there, over there. I really want that, and it's $100 less. But it's not a PS4 that's hard to find, so I'm just going to take this PS4, which I then proceeded to not actually use for 2 months. Oh, gosh, yeah. That was a fun time. But honestly, the PS4 and the Xbox One, they got a little bit better here at the end of the year, but it was a slow year. I mean, the game I had the most fun, I enjoyed the most with my PS4 this year, even more than Destiny, Last of Us, and HD, a game that came out on the PS3 that I played last year. I mean, it was, and that didn't come out until I want to say July. It was late in the year. So, I mean, it really was a slow year. And Xbox One wasn't much better. I mean, they came out with Master Chief here at the end, and they had a Sunset Overdrive, which I haven't played yet, but looks incredible, and I can't wait to get my hands on. But it was a slow year for those consoles. Why? Nintendo had Mario Kart, they had Smash Brothers, they had, I don't know what else came out this year. They had all sorts of...
New Super Mario Bros.
New Super Mario Brothers.
World, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Whatever terrible name they came up with, it was a great game.
Yeah. So, I think this was, honestly, this is for the Wii U, this was their year to actually sell unit. I mean, and they didn't really catch up as much as quote unquote catch up as much as I thought they should have, because this is the year where their competitor have consoles out there, but their competitors also don't have any games. And guess what? The Wii U has games. 8.9. I'd hoped better. I will say, getting into December and how everything's played out, while official numbers haven't been released from any of the major competitors about specific sales numbers, Nintendo had the best month for the Wii U they've ever had. They said their month, and granted, I'm sure this is a lot of spin, but they said their sales were up 29% over last Christmas. And then the other big point of news was that the PS4, the Xbox One, had actually outsold the PS4 in December by 1%. You can see we're kind of in this interesting kind of wave of change.
Now, with the Xbox, was that U.S. only sale, North America sales?
I believe that was worldwide. Yeah, got that from the VG chart. Yeah, those numbers are worldwide.
I mean, if Xbox continues to sell as well as it does, I expect to see a price drop from PS4. not too far from now. I'm sure they've reduced cost of production and all that stuff. So as the competition gets tighter, it should help everybody else out, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm with you on the price drop. Probably not soon, but realistically, maybe they might do a price drop by the end of this year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
In terms of Sony, the difference though is that Sony hasn't had to make a price drop yet, and that's why they haven't.
Right.
I think Microsoft, by doing this holiday special, for whatever reason, their marketers thought that they could bring the price back up to $400 again this spring.
Once you drop it, you can't go back. There's no going back.
Yeah, exactly. There's no going back after that. I think that's a permanent price drop now.
Yeah.
There's no way they can go back again.
They keep saying it's temporary. This is only temporary, but it's not going to be.
No,
it's
it can't. If they want to drive the numbers, because ultimately we as consumers, we love low prices, right? So if you lower the price of something and then you raise it the exact same thing, and I know it's a holiday special, but we're going to be upset. We're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
So it was worth $3 less last month, but now you're saying it's more. I mean, like this is not how. That's not how it works.
It was too long of a sale to go back after.
All I saw on Amazon is it's $350 with 2 games. You get Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and Assassin's Creed Unity. That's a pretty good deal.
Sony doesn't have to. They're in a great spot. And honestly, for Microsoft, that's almost it's a necessary strategy for them, essential really. But also, it is kind of a sign of weakness too, right? Because they had to be the one to fold, and now they have to permanently fold on it. While Sony's still PS4s are still going to be selling. Even if Microsoft is outselling them, Sony doesn't have to worry about really having a threat until months down the road. I would say, Tyler, I'm totally with you. I think by end of 2015, we do see a price drop on the PS4 at somewhere, or we see some really crazy, awesome bundles. One of those two. What do you think each of these, all three of these guys, bring to the table? So, we'll start with Microsoft, for example. What do you think Microsoft brings to the table that you don't find with Sony and you don't find with Nintendo?
Microsoft, particularly with this console, has done a much, much better job than PS4 or even Wii U. Well, of course, Wii U, I guess, of really implementing and trying to create like a media device for your living room. And I do appreciate that. I like that a lot. But my only issue with it was I have a lot of those type of devices already. I didn't need another one. Mm-hmm. But as far as like...
But Austin, you can talk to your Xbox. It'll voice activated. That's what it has. You can't talk to your Apple TV.
Burn fire, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I'm not big on the voice commands, but there is that. Some people really, really enjoy it. But yeah, the apps and different things and the snapping and like the multitasking kind of capabilities of the Xbox was really, really cool.
They've got Halo, so you've got me there. Microsoft, I think you're right. They kind of do have that multimedia down. Better than you see with which is really weird because I thought the PS3 was a better multimedia device than the Xbox 360, but it's kind of flip-flopped now. The PS4 is all right. Like it's fine. They're getting better about it. It started out really just for games, which is fine with me. Like I'm okay with that. But it's slowly they're starting to like add more features to it, which is great. But the Xbox One out of the gate was, I mean, little stuff like being able to plug your cable into it. Makes that appealing to people who are not like you and me, who just kind of maybe they play Call of Duty and Madden, and they want a console to watch Netflix and stuff on, and they also have cable or whatever, and they can run everything through their one device, which is kind of handy, I think.
I think what Microsoft has really done at this point, throughout the life cycle of the 360, is to establish themselves as a social console, especially in the United States, for competitive gaming. So I don't think the Xbox has the diversity of games that the PlayStation has, or perhaps even the Wii U has. But what really drives the Xbox is that you can get on with a lot of your friends and have a great experience with first-person shooters and competitive titles doing multiplayer. And that's what I think Microsoft still continues to have over Sony, is their real connection with competitive multiplayer games.
Sony guys, what are you thinking about Sony?
The reason I was super excited about the PS4 was they're consistently like running out at these press conferences all the indie devs. Mm-hmm. To me, like their support of the indie developers in general has kind of been unparalleled amongst the major console developers, and that provides like so much variety, I think, to the games I play and the games I have access to, because me not really having a PC kind of limits that a lot, honestly. So the fact that a lot of the indie devs are kind of flocking to PS4 and Sony's really working with them on a lot of this was really appealing to me. That's the reason I bought one.
The reason I picked up a PS4 and a PlayStation Vita, Sony, over the life cycle of the PlayStation 3, has really just fostered some amazing first-party developers. And this goes along with their relationship with indie developers in that they've shown a strong focus on providing unique game experiences, whether that comes through a healthy relationship with a third-party indie developer or comes through their own first-party studios that they have a ton of and they have some of the best of. Mm-hmm. I think that's where you get the amazing diversity on the PlayStation ecosystem, particularly with single-player experiences, but multiplayer too. And that's what I love about the PlayStation.
Nintendo set the bar way back in the day with making mascots and unique experiences to go along with each one of those. And I never had a PS2. I played it a lot, but I never particularly connected well with that console. And the PS3, I actually had an Xbox 360 first before I picked up the PS3. And, it took me a long time to actually get a PS3, but I'd probably been out 3 or 4 years at that point. But, when I picked that thing up, man, I fell in love with it. I mean, you have Uncharted, you've got Little Big Planet, you've got, the Mod Nation Racers, you've got, just they've like you said, diversity, they've got lots of different genres there. And for the first time, I felt like they had captured what Nintendo did with their mascots for their consoles. I mean, yeah, Microsoft's got Master Chief, and that's about it. But honestly, because of the popularity of shooters, he's almost been lessened, like the value of that character, because there's a million other first-person shooters out there. There's not really a whole lot of other games out there like Uncharted. Yeah, there's other third-person shooters, but none of them feel like Uncharted. And no other platformer feels like Little Big Planet. I think ultimately Sony does hedge up on the games. Such a huge library of games, and they've also figured out how to harvest like their older games too, and they've tried with mixed results. Like they tried to bring back Twisted Metal, which I was a huge fan of back in the day, and that didn't quite work out for them. But it's the fact that they actually wanted to invest in that IP and keep it around, and even with stupid stuff that like the PlayStation All Stars that looked like a blatant Super Smash Bros. Ripoff, but was totally not. Like it really shows that they get gamers. They connect with us. I mean, that's been obvious with the way that they've pushed the PS4, and I think the PS3 was a huge learning curve for them and how they're going to connect with their audiences. And you've seen that I think towards the latter half of the PS3 life cycle, and then with the PS4, they get us. And last but not least, we've got Nintendo. It's a love-hate thing. We've talked about them a lot on this episode already, but they're making games unlike you're going to see with anyone. There's no other Zeldas out there. There's no other Mario Karts, no other Marios. And despite the fact that the games are kind of similar, like they all feel like they're, I guess technically they are kind of the same game, they feel new enough every time you play it. It feels like you're playing a brand new game.
And they feel different from everything else on the market.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that's what Nintendo brings is an experience that is totally different than anything that Microsoft or Sony has at all. There's a nostalgia level on it, for sure, but they're so separate and apart from all other games on the market. And on top of that, they add, especially their first-party stuff, they have a level of polish on it.
Oh, yeah.
That is pretty much unparalleled, I think, in the gaming industry.
Yeah, well, okay.
The way they tighten everything down from controls to graphics to everything just is polished and well put together.
And when the game comes out, it works. Mm-hmm. It works almost flawlessly. I mean, you might find little bugs here and there, little tiny bugs here and there, but I mean, it feels done, and that's an era we're in right now where it's like, oh, we'll have day one patches and you'll get patched down the road, or you have to wait for the first DLC to get this fixed or whatever. Like, Nintendo doesn't do that. They give you a complete product that works almost flawlessly right out of the bag, which it sounds kind of silly. 10 years ago it would have sounded silly, but like now that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal.
It really is.
And I think 2014 really has become the year of broken game launches.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
In every way. So Nintendo not having those problems is a huge deal.
And if anyone's been following the H1Z1 launch over the past 2 days,
oh my gosh,
they'll know exactly what we're talking about. It's been just ridiculous.
Gotcha. So, I mean, all three of these guys bring something unique to the table, I think. So, as a consumer, do you guys think? I mean, as gamers, yeah, it's always fun to get into this whole console war back and forth. I think it's just fun. At least in my perspective, it's a lot of fun. It's just a little bit of drama to liven things up, and I quite enjoy it. But do you think for the average consumer that this whole console war really matters?
I think the average consumer is going to buy the game or the console that their friends have, and that's probably what you should do. Like buy what your friends have, play with your friends. Games are a very good social experience, and you should play it that way. I think there's a lot of people who want to do single player things. That's fine, but I would buy the ones your friends have. They all bring something really cool and really unique to the party, and you should enjoy it for what it is. And I highly recommend buying either an Xbox or PlayStation 4, and also buying a Wii U, because there's a lot of good stuff on the Wii U.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we mentioned earlier, Nintendo it works as a supplementary console, and luckily it's cheaper too, at least for the time being. So that's a big win. Tyler, how about you? I mean, do you think the console war is really making that big a difference in terms of where people put their money at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Austin on this, that for the average consumer, it's not really impacting them all that much because they are going to buy what their friends buy. But for the gamers, for the core gamer demographic, I think it matters for the games that we get to play. It's been largely positive because it helps. This competition between the publishers helps drive first-party titles. So we wouldn't have gotten a lot of these amazing Sony games, first-party Sony games, for example, or first-party Microsoft games, if there hadn't been this competition between the two to try and sell console units. So I think in that way, the console war really helps benefit gamers in the long run. But unfortunately, it seems to be having some negative impacts at this point, because now they're playing, both of them, Sony and Microsoft. Again, Nintendo's in their own little world over there. Yeah. But Sony and Microsoft are doing things like buying third-party titles and paying essentially for exclusivity on their console without actually investing in the game itself. And that is an unhealthy trend. And I won't. I'd say personally, I will not buy games that do that. So Tomb Raider, for example, until it comes to PlayStation, I won't buy it, and Street Fighter until it goes to Xbox, I just will not. I won't support.
I was when I found out Sunset Overdrive had gone from multi-platform to Xbox exclusive, I about pulled my hair out.
Well, that was actually
that from the get-go?
Fault.
Was it? Okay.
So what happened with Sunset Overdrive was that the developer wanted to own, Insomniac wanted to own the rights to the IP.
Okay.
So, for example, with Ratchet and Clank, when they made the deals for it, Sony paid for the game, and that's how they got exclusivity.
Right.
But Sony required that they own Ratchet and Clank. Insomniac can't make a third-party Ratchet and Clank game, even though they're a third-party developer. And that Sunset Overdrive probably would have been either on all consoles or a PlayStation exclusive, but Sony wanted to own the rights to the IP.
Okay.
And Insomniac said, no, we want to be able to own and control this game. And Microsoft actually stepped up and said, okay, we're willing to fund your game for it to be exclusive to Xbox, and you will own the rights. So we may get Sunset Overdrive 2 on the PlayStation. It's possible. Because Insomniac owns the game, but yeah, that was entirely Sony's fault. That one wasn't anybody else's.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know. I just kind of assumed that was one of those instances because of that trend you were talking about. I just had to kind of assume it was more victim. Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting.
I have to bring up while we're on this exclusive thing. The whole thing with Sony and the Destiny DLC has been a little weird.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Specifically because Sony gets exclusive content from the DLC and from the game in general, but the price for the DLC is the same on both consoles. You get like whole like more missions, like an additional strike on PlayStation and stuff. So it's kind of weird in that the Xbox players are essentially paying exactly what the PlayStation players are paying
for less.
For less.
Yeah. Wow.
And the argument has been that, well, Sony paid for that stuff for you by buying the exclusive rights to it, but I don't think the consumer sees it that way.
No, that's dirty. That's a dirty tactic right there. And I've never been a fan of those. Like, and I know what Sony's trying to do with Destiny, what Microsoft did with Call of Duty last gen, and I mean it's working. It's just very frustrating because like really I can't play these maps that came out. I have to wait 90 days or whatever. I mean I don't know. It just seems like a really dirty tactic from both Microsoft and Sony to kind of hold that content hostage, and those people are paying the same amount of money for less stuff. That's got to feel horrible. Like as a consumer, you're like, man, I'm actually getting cheapened. Cheapens that what you do get. That's awful.
Mm-hmm. And in the end, with these exclusivity deals, nobody wins. Except for Sony and Microsoft, depending on whether they have. So in terms of this Destiny DLC that's exclusive to the PlayStation, if Sony hadn't paid for that, we still would have gotten it on PlayStation, but it also would have gone. So really what we're having is Sony and Microsoft are playing this little game where they are paying third-party publishers to not release it on the opposing console.
Yeah.
And that's money that could go toward developing new content instead. I'm in favor of them spending money to develop new content, but not to pay off people to not release on the other, because we do not win. That is not a victory for the particular, for anyone but Sony and Microsoft with their sales. It's not cool.
I think that cheapens us as the consumers, right? I really do, because it's saying that if I have the money and I'm an Xbox owner, I should be able to have the same content as people on the PlayStation. So from Bungie's perspective, it sure seems like you're shorting the Xbox players, right? You're not as valuable to us as PlayStation because Sony paid us off. I mean, I don't know. All around, this is just bad.
Yeah,
it's very good for Activision.
Oh yes, Activision loves that money.
Well, think about it though. I mean, Sony must have had to pay them a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
To make up for the extra sales loss on the opposing console. So I mean, obviously for Activision and in all of the cases of the third-party publishers, it somehow makes good business sense. But ultimately, that's content that PlayStation users would have gotten anyway. It's not extra content. It's just that Xbox users don't get to play it, and that's
you could make the argument that the sales lost from Xbox are not as big as the money they gained from Sony paying them, and therefore they were able to do more things with the money. That's probably not the case.
Yeah.
Listen here, guys. This is Activision we're talking about. I mean, Activision. I guess before we totally wrap this console war conversation down, who's winning? Who's winning the console war?
Microsoft has the momentum right now. They're obviously have a lot of catch up to do, but at this moment in time, Microsoft's winning. I think they have the momentum, and they're forcing Sony eventually. They're going to have to react to it.
Right.
So Microsoft is playing on their own rules right now, and I would say they're winning.
Gonna go with Microsoft. Okay, Tyler, how about you?
I'm actually going to push back a little bit and say PlayStation. I think Microsoft had a really great holiday season in the U.S., but I think PlayStation has worldwide sales, and PlayStation has the momentum of first-party titles that are coming out soon. So you have The Order. You have a lot of games slated for the rest of the year that Microsoft has yet to establish at this point. So I think we're going to see a slowdown in Xbox sales compared to the holiday season over the next few months, and Sony's going to continue their momentum by releasing new games continuously.
Yeah, they've done the hard part. They've established the audience. That's just it's a snowball, right? And now all they have to do is give us content. All they have to do is make us happy now and give us the content we want, and we're not going to, bail ship. And I mean, listen, guys, all they needed was that dang Uncharted teaser that they showed at E3 last year, and we're all like, oh, we're in. The Order, I don't even know if the Order, I'm not sure. That game's kind of got like all sorts of red flags over it, but I think it looks awesome. So, I mean, I hope it's good. I hope so too. I really, really want that game to be good. I really do. So I mean, they've got an entire just arsenal of games. 'Cause really, they haven't put any of that stuff out yet. Any of it, really. So they've got an entire arsenal to launch. So I mean, if I was going to pick right now, I would say I think Sony's got the heads up. They are in a they have to be careful though, because I think to Austin's point, Microsoft is gaining some traction, which is really great, and hopefully Sony really, really learned that they can't get cocky. I mean, after the PS3 and the disaster that went on there, thinking that they could charge X prices, and they let Microsoft take the market that way. And I hope that's not the case here. I'm going to give you the cop-out answer that says the gamers are winning because we have awesome games
oh, God.
on all consoles. But seriously, it is a cop-out answer. If I was going to pick a horse to bet, I'd definitely go with Sony. But I will say right now is a great time to be a gamer. It used to be when I only had one console at a time, it was a big deal. And for most consumers, I think they only do get one console. It was a lot bigger deal. And I backed Nintendo, which of course was not a winning horse in terms of all-around content. But now that I actually can, have been able to work around and buy more than one console at a time, like it really does teach you how to appreciate each one for what they're worth. And I think if you're a gamer who can afford to go out and buy all the consoles and a gaming PC, I mean, there's no real. You're the one who's winning. You've got all this great content coming out on every console. We're right now, I think, really 2015 is going to be the year we really do start to see these next gen animals really do what we were promised they were going to do when they launched. All right, guys. Well, that wraps down our talk on the console war. If you're tuning in, listening, go ahead, send us some feedback. Let us know what you think. Post in the comments below. We are currently working on getting established on the means of social media, so eventually able to follow us that way. But yeah, go ahead. Tell us what you think about the console wars. Tweet me. I'm at BigCalKenobi91, and tell us kind of what you're thinking about the console wars. Who's winning? What's your favorite console? What's your favorite game, and why? I mean, go ahead. We want everyone to be in on this conversation. So to wrap down our first episode, our debut episode of the Hidden Levels, I'm going to go ahead and ask, what are our most anticipated games of 2015? We're starting off a new year, and a year that I think is going to be really great. Austin, what are 3 of your most anticipated games of the year?
I have a feeling one of these is going to probably take some away from you guys. But the first one is The Witcher 3. I'm super pumped about the game. The first 2, well, I didn't finish either of them because I'm a terrible scrub. Were really, really good, kind of very story-driven RPG games. Had a little bit of like Shadow of the Colossus in them, where you had to like find clues and take down a big creature and stuff, and it's pretty cool. So I'm excited about the third one. It seems to be more open world. Pretty pumped about that. Number 2 is The Division, which is, if for people who haven't followed it, it's a like Tom Clancy games meets Destiny. So it's like a open world, massively multiplayer looter shooter that looks a little bit more tactical focused. It looks really, really good. Pretty excited about that. And then finally, there's quite a bit of Destiny DLC coming out this year that I'm pretty excited about. Basically, like add a lot of new content to the game. So pretty pumped about that too.
Austin's a Destiny junkie, guys. We're going to put him on a 7-step program here pretty soon. So
just promise I won't bore you with all the Destiny stuff.
No, it's great though. I mean, that's a gaming experience we need to follow up on because it made huge waves this year, and it's worth talking about. That's for sure. Tyler, how about you? What are 3 games have you really pumped up in 2015?
I'm going to go with Austin with The Witcher 3. That's also definitely up there. I've been reading the books in anticipation. I'm halfway through the second one, and it makes me really excited about it. I missed the first game. I played the second on Xbox 360, and so I'm pumped for it. And reading the books only makes me even more excited. If listeners don't know, the Witcher series is actually based on a Polish book series by the same name. So Definitely worth reading, especially if you missed the first 2 games. It's definitely worth going to get the English translation. I think they have four of the books now have been translated into English, and I assume they go right up through the end of Witcher 2. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see.
You guys have, I mean, I feel awful. I haven't played either of the Witcher games, but it sounds like an awesome game.
It's great.
Yeah, it's I gotta find some way
really
to catch up, or I'm definitely gonna play the third one. That's for sure.
It's really good, really challenging, and it requires you to change your approach on fighting quite a bit compared to games that look similar. Like, you can't go in like you do in Skyrim. You got to do things a little differently.
Right. That's cool. Oh, that's cool. It's thinking outside the box, and I'm a big fan of those games that just kind of immerse you in the world with like a compelling story and universe to explore. That's really cool. Yeah.
And part of the reason, going back to the books again, The Witcher 2 unfortunately didn't do a very good job of catching the player up to the events of the first game.
Oh no.
So I'm not sure if the third is going to be an improvement, but that's part of the reason that I'm reading the books, so I can feel like I really appreciate the third game more than I appreciated the story and the world of the second game, just because I'll have that background information. So if you aren't able, for whatever reason, to get your hands on the first 2, you can always read the books, before it releases. But yeah, that's one of my top 3.
Nice.
My second one is Persona 5, assuming it actually ends up releasing this year, which it's supposed to. But Persona 4 was one of my favorite games ever, one of my favorite JRPGs, and so even though there's very little out there on Persona 5, I know it's going to be amazing, and I'm really excited about it. Finally, my third one, Batman Arkham Knight.
Oof, yes, the Batman.
I am a huge Batman fan. I read the comics, and I loved the Arkham games. I even enjoyed Arkham Origins, even though it was definitely
that game was not bad.
Yeah,
it wasn't as innovative as the first 2, but it was like, it's like getting a new Assassin's Creed, which is which for the first, when you do it the first time is cool. Like, oh cool, more of what I like. It's not a lot different, but man, this is still a fun game.
Yeah, so I think Arkham Knight is going to be an amazing game, and I love Batman, so it's the combination of 2 of my favorite things to have a Batman video game. So yeah, that's my third. To throw this last one in there, Zelda is my number 4. So I'm really excited for Zelda too. It's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a great year. Arkham Knight was also on my list. There are not really any great superhero games out there other than the Arkham series, and wow, everything about it. It's literally like they went inside 10-year-old Caleb Master's brain and like, okay, how can we make a more mature version of this that the 20-something Caleb is going to love? Okay, so we're going to cast Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker, and then we're going to do this Batman Hush style and find a way to work all the villains in there somehow. And it literally feels like, and I'm sure this was very intentional, but they went out of their way to make it feel like Batman the Animated Series for adults in a video game form, which is exactly what I want. And they got the combat is flawless, and the graphics in the new game. And I'm not really usually a graphics person. I mean, I am, but I'm not like, I don't freak out about them. But I have to say, when that first video came out, my jaw dropped. I mean, I didn't expect there to be that big of a jump. And it's all because it's all in the shaders and the lighting, which the new consoles are particularly good at over the last gen. And man, that game looks incredible. I don't quite understand the fetish for the Batmobile that Rocksteady seems to have, but you know what? Cool. I'll shoot some stuff in a tank. Yeah, why not? My next one is going to be Star Wars Battlefront. I have a lot of great memories with Battlefront 2. I used to do we did LAN parties back in the day, Halo 2 and Battlefront 2. And, I love that franchise. It's one I never really got to, outside of those LAN parties, I didn't really ever get the full experience because I didn't have an Xbox at the time. I'm just very excited. I'm a big Star Wars nut. I love Star Wars. Star Wars games in general are hit or miss. That was a franchise I thought did something really great. You felt like you were in the universe. This new one, you're going to be able to go from planet space battles onto land battles without any loading screens. That's really cool. Oh. And it feels like the ultimate Star Wars game as far as like battle. Not necessarily as a Jedi, but like you're actually fighting in these wars that you've seen and read about and watched and everything. And that really excites me. I think it could be a really great, fun game to watch online. My last one is of course, Zelda Wii U. Actually, it's really the first one. It's really the most anticipated. Guys, Zelda's the reason I still play video games. I mean, Ocarina of Time was. I started playing Mario games when I started gaming way back on the NES. But Ocarina of Time was that first experience where I just felt totally immersed in this game, into a game, and I loved it. And I just didn't want to leave that world. And I love the puzzles. My life could be benchmarks in my life or new Zeldas coming out. I can tell you that I bought Twilight Princess the launch day for the Wii, November 19th, 2006, because Twilight Princess was coming out 1 month later on the GameCube, and I was not going to wait. Zelda is kind of a huge deal, and I can't wait to see what they do with it, trying to make it more open world.
Well, I can throw out one I can dream kind of thing, because I don't think it's going to happen in 2015, but Fallout 4.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
We'll immediately jump to the top list.
Oh, Fallout 4. Fallout 4, the only thing on this list that might beat it is Zelda. Like, Fallout 4 trumps everything. If we get a release date for 2015 tomorrow, that's on the list.
Yeah.
You guys, I will not talk to you for like weeks, and I'll be podcasting live from my Fallout 4 gaming session. So that's oh man, they need to stop teasing us, man. They just need to like give us the game already. I mean, seriously.
I think you're gonna be waiting a while.
Shut up, Austin.
They've been working on it for a long time, though.
They have. I remember reading a report, like at least I want to say it was at least 3 years ago. It had to have been. I was still in college. Yeah, definitely like 3 years ago. Where they were doing R&D in the Boston area. They had people like researching the Boston area and the geography and everything 3 years ago. And I know that's pre-production stuff, but that means they've been working on this game actively for at least minimally 3 years.
Yep.
I mean, you gotta think by now they're gonna be getting kind of close to like showing us something, right?
War never changes.
Hey, well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the first episode. If you do have a chance, please go to iTunes and subscribe. That's the best way, currently the best way you can support our show. Subscribe on iTunes and give us a rating and write a review, even if it's a 2-word review. If you think we're awful, tell us. It's better than not telling us anything. We want to know. Or if you think we're awesome, please give us a 5-star review and talk about how awesome we are. That would really be a huge help to us. If you want to find any of the rest of our work online, you can always find me on Twitter at BigCalKenobi91, or you can find my entire online catalog of podcast, movie reviews, and all stuff games at calebmasters.net. Tyler, do you have like a blog or anything you'd like to share today?
Yeah, I've been a little bit slow on the Twitter, but if anybody's curious what games I've been playing, they can go on psnprofiles.com and check out Back to Narnia, which is my PSN ID, and they're welcome to check out what I've been doing in the game world.
If you want to add me on PSN, we can play some Destiny. It's just my last name, Lucari, Lucari. Add me on there. We'll play some games. It'll be fun. Good times.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you Tyler and Austin for taking this step into this great journey of games, talking, and podcasting. It's really a great pleasure to have you guys on board.
It's fun.
All right. Until next time.
Hasta luego.
Half-Life 3 is literally never going to happen.
No. I wouldn't have said that a year ago, but I've kind of just, over time, I've kind of accepted that.
They can't release it because nothing they release will ever live up to what people want.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
They kind of
be a disappointment.
They screwed themselves too. They left episode 2 on a why does this always happen to cliffhangers? They left it on a cliffhanger. They're going to sell it and they'll make tons of money, but you're totally right. There's this unreasonable expectation. It's going to become the Duke Nukem Forever of jokes now. Now, it's not going to be bad like Duke Nukem Forever, but, for the next 10 years, it's going to be a game where, like, man, it's going to come out right after Half-Life 3, I mean, it's totally turned into that Duke Nukem type, like, thing where we're all just joking about how it's going to come out and never going to come out.